The sun was shining brightly in the small, picturesque suburban neighborhood of Maplewood. Elijah Grant, a 38-year-old single father and software engineer, had recently moved into the area with his 7-year-old daughter, Ava. After years of working tirelessly, Elijah finally managed to save enough to purchase his dream home in this quiet, tree-lined neighborhood. The move was not just about upgrading their living situation, it was about giving Ava a fresh start in a safe and welcoming community. At least, that's what Elijah had hoped for. Ava was a lively and curious child who adored playing outside. One Saturday afternoon, Elijah set up a small basketball hoop in their driveway, hoping to teach Ava how to play. Laughter and the sound of bouncing basketballs filled the air as Elijah and Ava played one-on-one, their bond evident to anyone who happened to glance their way. Across the street, Linda Harper, an older white woman in her mid-50s, peered through her curtains, her lips pursed in disapproval. Linda had lived in Maplewood for over 20 years and considered herself the self-appointed guardian of the neighborhood. She had noticed Elijah and Ava moving in but had not taken the time to introduce herself. Instead, she made assumptions based on their appearance, her biases clouding her judgment. As we continue with this story, please click on the link that shows at the top right of your screen to subscribe. Thank you. As the day wore on, Linda grew increasingly irritated by the sounds of laughter and basketball coming from the Grant driveway. She convinced herself that Elijah must be disturbing the peace or causing trouble. Her frustration bubbled over when she saw Elijah sitting on the hood of his car, chatting with Ava while she took a break from playing. She picked up her phone and dialed 911. "There's a man outside making a racket," Linda said, her voice tinged with faux urgency. "He's loitering, and I'm not sure he belongs here. You need to send someone." Elijah was oblivious to the call. He was too busy enjoying the rare free time he had with Ava. But as they packed up the basketball and began heading inside, Elijah noticed a police car pull up in front of their house. His stomach tightened as two officers stepped out, their expressions unreadable. "Good afternoon, sir," one officer said, approaching Elijah. "We received a report about a disturbance in the area. Do you mind explaining what's going on?" Elijah frowned, glancing over at Ava, who clutched his hand tightly. "A disturbance? We've just been playing basketball in our driveway. I don't see how that could be an issue." The second officer glanced at Linda, who had stepped out onto her porch, arms crossed and watching the scene unfold. "Ma'am, are you the one who called this in?" the officer asked. Linda nodded vigorously as she now walked towards them. "Yes, officer. I've been hearing noise all afternoon, and it just didn't seem appropriate. I wasn't sure if this man even lived here." Elijah felt his temper rise, but kept his voice calm. "I'm the owner of this house," he said firmly. "And that's my daughter. We were playing basketball. That's it." The officers exchanged a glance, clearly uncomfortable. Just as one of them was about to respond, another car pulled up, a sleek black SUV. The door opened, and out stepped Mayor Celeste Bradley, a black woman in her early 50s, known for her progressive leadership and community outreach. She had been driving through the neighborhood on her way to an event when she spotted the commotion. "Is there a problem here?" Mayor Bradley asked, her commanding presence immediately shifting the energy of the scene. As Mayor Bradley surveyed the scene, she turned to the officers. "Tell me exactly what was reported," she demanded, her voice steady but firm. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. "Mayor Bradley, we were responding to a call about a disturbance," one of them explained. "A neighbor claimed the man was loitering and causing noise." Celeste's sharp eyes scanned the scene once again, taking in Linda's smug expression, Elijah's tense posture, and Ava's frightened face. "A disturbance," she repeated, her voice laced with disbelief. "Loitering? Outside his own house? And noise? Did you even verify the complaint before pulling up like this? From what I can see, this man was spending quality time with his daughter. Is that what constitutes a disturbance these days?" The officers looked down, realizing how unsubstantiated the complaint was. Linda's confidence faltered as she realized who the woman was. and sensing the tide turning against her, interjected, I was just trying to look out for the neighborhood, she stammered. I didn't mean any harm. I didn't know he lived here. How was I supposed to know? The mayor stepped closer to Linda, her voice calm but firm. Mrs. Harper, looking out for the neighborhood doesn't mean profiling your neighbors. If you were truly concerned, you could have walked over and introduced yourself instead of calling the police. She continued. You've been attending town hall meetings for years. You're well aware of the expectations we have for this community, to be inclusive, to look out for each other, not to single out families based on appearance. This is unacceptable. Linda stammered, her bravado faltering. I didn't mean. The mayor cut her off. Your actions have consequences, and they're not just personal. They affect the entire community. You've wasted police resources and created an unnecessary situation. Turning to the officers, Celeste continued, I trust this situation has been clarified. Mr. Grant clearly lives here and hasn't done anything wrong. The officers nodded, visibly relieved to have the situation de-escalated. They apologized to Elijah and left, but the damage had been done. Ava clung to her father, her small face buried in his side. Linda, now red-faced, tried to slip back inside her house, but Celeste wasn't finished. Mrs. Harper, she said, stopping the woman in her tracks. I suggest you reflect on your actions today. This community is better than this, and I won't tolerate behavior that divides us. I expect to see you at the next town hall meeting. We'll be discussing community accountability, and I suggest you take the opportunity to reflect and come add your inputs. Linda nodded mutely before retreating into her home. The mayor turned to Elijah and Ava, her expression softening. I'm so sorry you had to go through this, she said. If there's anything I can do, please let me know. Elijah thanked her, his voice thick with emotion. Just knowing someone like you is looking out for us means a lot. Meanwhile, Danielle, who had been recording the interaction from the sidewalk, decided to step closer. Excuse me, Mayor Bradley, she said, holding up her phone. I've been recording this, and I think people need to see what's happening. This kind of thing happens too often, and it's not okay. Elijah turned to Danielle, surprised. You didn't have to do that, he said softly, appreciating her support but wary of the attention it might bring. I did, Danielle replied firmly. People need to know this is happening, even here, in Maplewood. The mayor nodded. Thank you, Danielle. This kind of awareness is what drives change. As Celeste drove away, Elijah took Ava inside, sitting her down to explain what had happened in terms she could understand. It was a difficult conversation, but he knew it was necessary. The incident quickly made its way to social media, with someone posting a video of the confrontation. It was Danielle who posted the video. Danielle is a young college student who lived 2 houses down. Danielle was the type of person who actively spoke out against injustices and used her platform to raise awareness. After capturing the interaction, she posted the video with a caption that read, "This is what racial profiling looks like in our neighborhood. A father and daughter playing basketball, and the cops are called. Thank you, Mayor Bradley, for standing up for what's right." The footage went viral, quickly gained traction online, garnering thousands of views within hours. Comments poured in, both supporting Elijah and criticizing Linda's behavior, sparking a larger conversation about racial bias and the importance of community solidarity. Linda faced backlash from both her neighbors and the broader public, eventually issuing a public apology. Later that evening, Elijah sat with Ava, trying to explain to her again what had happened. Sometimes, people make judgments before they know the whole story, he said gently. But what matters is how we handle it. We don't let it change who we are. Is that why the mayor helped us? Ava asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Yes, Elijah said, smiling. She saw the truth and stood up for what was right. And that's what we'll always do too. Meanwhile, Elijah became a voice for change in Maplewood to foster understanding and unity, while working closely with Mayor Bradley. The basketball hoop in his driveway became a symbol of resilience, attracting kids from all over the neighborhood. Ava grew up knowing the value of standing up for what's right, inspired by her father's strength and the support of their community. The memory of that day remained, though it served as a reminder that change starts with small acts of courage and the willingness to see each other as equals. Months after the incident, the Grant family became more integrated into the Maplewood community. Elijah's efforts to promote understanding and unity began paying off. The neighborhood started coming together in ways it never had before. Block parties and open forums encouraged dialogue, and people began to get to know one another beyond surface appearances. Elijah had turned a painful incident into a catalyst for change, and he became widely respected within the community. Mayor Bradley took the opportunity to introduce new community initiatives, including anti-bias training for local police and town-wide events to promote understanding and inclusivity. Mayor Celeste Bradley remained in touch with Elijah, offering support and even inviting him to participate in citywide initiatives to address racial bias and improve community policing. Elijah was reluctant at first, unsure if his voice could make an impact on a larger scale, but Ava's encouragement pushed him forward. "Dad, you always tell me to be brave," she said one evening as they sat on the porch. "Maybe it's time for you to be brave too." Her words struck a chord. Elijah agreed to work with Celeste, and together they launched a program aimed at fostering empathy and accountability in local law enforcement. Workshops, role-playing exercises, and town hall meetings became part of the training curriculum for police officers in Maplewood. Elijah became a key voice in these efforts, using his experience to advocate for change. The program quickly gained attention, and other towns began adopting similar initiatives. Meanwhile, Linda Harper struggled to regain her footing in the neighborhood. Her public apology had been met with skepticism by many, and she found herself increasingly isolated. One day, she worked up the courage to visit Elijah and Ava, holding a freshly baked pie as a peace offering. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," Linda said, her voice trembling. "But I wanted to say I'm sorry again, for everything. I've been reflecting a lot, and I realize how wrong I was." Elijah paused for a moment before speaking. "Change isn't easy, Linda. But the fact that you're here shows that you're trying. It's a start." Ava peeked out from behind her father, her curious eyes fixed on Linda. "You made a mistake," Ava said softly. "But if you're really sorry, maybe you can come to our next block party and help us make things better." Linda's eyes filled with tears as she nodded. "I'd like that very much." The block party was a success, with neighbors of all backgrounds coming together to celebrate their community. Linda volunteered to help organize future events, slowly rebuilding trust with her neighbors. But the most unexpected twist came when Linda discovered a hidden talent for public speaking during one of the town hall meetings. Encouraged by Elijah and Mayor Bradley, she began sharing her story of bias and redemption, hoping to inspire others to confront their prejudices. As for Elijah, his collaboration with Mayor Bradley continued to grow. He became a regular speaker at community events, sharing his experiences and advocating for change. His work eventually caught the attention of a nonprofit organization focused on racial equity, which invited him to join their board of directors. Ava, inspired by her father's courage, took up basketball more seriously, practicing on the same driveway hoop where the story had begun. She joined a local team and quickly became a standout player, her determination and resilience shining through on and off the court. The incident that had once shaken the Grant family became a turning point, not just for them, but for the entire community. Maplewood transformed from a place of quiet biases to a beacon of inclusivity and progress, proving that even the most painful moments can lead to growth and understanding. Elijah stood on the porch with Ava one evening, watching her shoot hoops as the sun dipped below the horizon. Bobby, their golden retriever, lay at their feet, wagging his tail contentedly. "You did it, Dad," Ava said, pausing to look at him. "You made a difference." Elijah smiled, his heart full. "No, sweetheart. We did it. Together." Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to Home of Stories TV. And do not forget to turn on the notification bell for more inspiring stories. Drop your comments below, let us know your thoughts.